Right. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you again to the second segment of our discussions today. If you were here for the previous panel that we had, then it's a pleasure to have you back. And if you haven't been there for the previous one, it's a great pleasure to have you here for this one now. We also want to acknowledge that just on the topic of green economy, right between those two sessions, we were passing out flyers with respect to just the Global Alliance on Green Economy. So if you haven't had the opportunity to receive it, please just go ahead and ask any of our volunteers here, and we're happy to pass you a copy of it as well. For now, we're happy to open up with a new discussion as well today, and this one here is the road to 2050, accelerating net zero commitments in the UAE. And for this one, the brief in general is just that the session will aim to engage key players in the UAE's climate agenda to understand and highlight the strategic initiatives contributing to the UAE's net zero strategy and roadmap. The session will additionally address expected outcomes from COP28, its legacies, and the role in scaling up credible commitments and roadmaps towards climate mitigation, adaptation, and implementation. Before we kick this one off as well, I'd like to re-invite His Excellency Attayr to come give a keynote speech again on this topic as well. Thank you.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to join all eminent guests from around the world, knowledgeable speaker attendees and organizers from this important event to address this remarkable group of people who are committed to accelerate the shift toward net zero greenhouse gas emission and achieve smooth transition to a green economy. Before I proceed further, I would like to welcome our speaker who will share their vision and experience for outlining the agenda for accelerating net zero emissions. Ladies and gentlemen, COP27 is a key platform that fellow global stakeholders to have their voices heard. It is also to provide a forum for global cooperation and joint action to come up with the game-changing and emission-cutting measures that climate crisis to be desperately demanded by creating practical opportunity for a sustainable economic growth and promoting holistic multilateral cooperation. The participation of the policy makers, corporate sector, and experts in COPs plays an important role in shaping global climate change and accelerating progress on delivery of the Paris Agreement through negotiation, capacity building, knowledge sharing, and partnership. The Middle East, North America region plays a pivotal role in the effective implementation of the climate action. Holding COP27 in Egypt and COP28 in the United Arab Emirates next year would provide the inputs to accelerate action against climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, to further spearhead the transition toward the green economy, the UAE Cabinet, chaired by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, approved the UAE to join Global Alliance for Green Economy, announced by the World Green Economy Organization, WGO, during the World Green Economy Summit in Dubai 2022, to play a pivotal role in promoting climate action, food security, and climate resilient development. The organization called for supporting this global alliance to accelerate the transition toward the green economy, achieve the goals of sustainable development and implementation of the Paris Agreement by harnessing, financing, technology, capacity building, and other factors that contribute to enabling that green economy. In support of the UAE leadership in addressing climate change and the global climate agenda, WGO has established many strategic partnerships and initiatives aiming at holistically addressing unprecedented challenges relating to climate change, including hosting of UNFCCC Wuju Regional Cooperation Center for MENA and South Asia. Moreover, Wuju received the observer member accreditation from UNFCCC at COP26. The UAE supports the global efforts aimed at addressing climate change by offering effective solutions to support how carbon local sector implementing pioneering projects that support its future strategies and aspiration and building a successful model for new green economy that can attain economic sustainability while preserving the environment for current and future generations. In line with the vision and directive of our wise leadership, the UAE has launched UAE Net Zero Strategic Initiative 2050, the Dubai Clean Energy Strategy, and the Dubai Net Zero Carbon Emission Strategy by 2050. This strategy aims to achieve net zero emission, provide 100% of the total power production capacity from clean energy sources by 2050. Furthermore, in 2022, the first ever MENA Week was hosted by UAE government represented by the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, the World Green Economy Organization, and Dubai Electricity and Water Authority in collaboration with the UNFCCC and accredited the momentum toward COP27. Ladies and gentlemen, these feats are not possible without active participation of all stakeholders. The latest climate policy landscape and UAE's nomination to key climate dialogue provide the private sector with the significant opportunities to reshape the way and operate, transform the way that we do business. As we look forward to creating a better future for us and next generation, I would like to welcome global leaders and the corporate sector to be a part of this journey and promote successful green economic solutions that meet current and the future economic environmental needs, including achieving net zero goals. On behalf of the Green Economy Organization, I would like to assert that we will continue to support great efforts to foster this net zero transition and facilitate cooperation between governments, the private sector, and the international community through our Vision initiative. And I hope that today at this gathering we will take another leap forward and accelerate action to achieve our common goals and ambition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And with this, I would like to now begin to introduce the panel. And we're going to begin as well with our moderator. So I'd like to introduce Carolina Bacho, the Climate Change and Partnerships Lead with the United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office in the United Arab Emirates, which will be highly instrumental in coordinating the UN's system-wide engagement at COP28. Additionally, I'd like to introduce our three speakers for today. First, we have His Excellency Majid Al-Suwaidi, the Director General of COP28, the UAE Presidency. Next, we have Engineer Walid Salman, the EVP Business Development and Excellence at DIWA and Chairman of UN Global Compact UAE. And finally, His Excellency Engineer Isa Al-Hashmi, the Assistant Undersecretary for the Sustainable Community Sector at the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment. And with this, I will hand the floor back over to you.
Thank you. Welcome once again to our distinguished speakers today. We look forward to dive straight into this very, very important topic that is net zero. So, Your Excellency, I will start my question with you. what is UAE's grand vision when it comes to climate action?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the chance to be here to speak today. And it's a really great opportunity to talk about us in the UAE. As you know, our country has been undergoing for a long time a transformation, a diversification of our economy. And we're very fortunate that thanks to our leadership, today we're 70% non-oil and gas. And that has really been about developing our country to look to the future. And a big part of that is about climate change. Not many people realize that climate change and environmental stewardship has really been in the DNA of our country from its foundation. And I always would want to mention His Highness Sheikh Zayed, Allah yarhamah, who was a real thought leader when it came to this, and somebody who established environmental stewardship and sustainable development as part of our core ethics in the UAE. From that, over the years, we've really established a very robust climate change policies, environmental policies, energy policies, the establishment of companies like Masdar, which are really leaders in renewable energy. Some of the fantastic policies that you see in Dubai are really a testament to how our government is committed to addressing climate change at the heart of our cities, at the heart of our society. And I think that our UAE vision is to be one of the leaders in this space and to really change the narrative from this being something that hinders economic growth to something that can create economic growth. And I think it's really been an example of how the UAE tackles many challenges, that we always look to see, okay, there's a problem that we need to solve for. How can we turn this into an opportunity that can generate new jobs, new types of economic growth? And as you see in the policies that you see today in the UAE, we're really at the forefront when it comes to climate policy.
Thank you so much. It's a very ambitious yet pragmatic vision, and we as the UN look forward to contribute to this. My next question is for you, Excellency Aissa. Last week, for those of us that were fortunate to be here, Her Excellency Mariam Al-Mahiri announced the launch of the National Net Zero by 2050 pathway, which was very exciting. How will this help to achieve net zero? If you could kindly give us some concrete examples. And also, who are your key supporters for this great endeavor?
Well, first, allow me first to thank the World Green Economy Organization for convening us today and for their outstanding effort on creating alliances and coalitions that would help to foster the transition toward green economy and low carbon intensive economy. When it comes to the UAE net zero by 2050 pathway, it actually forms the first part of the net zero puzzle. So for us, for the UAE as a nation, to know how it will achieve the net zero by 2050 target, it needs a pathway, a direction.
Right.
So we started by setting up the direction. We worked throughout the last few months tirelessly with many of our stakeholders. Many of them also have joined us during this summit. And we were able to create an all-inclusive process, a whole-of-nation approach. We had representatives of the youth, women, cities and emirates, as well as the federal entities. We had corporations, private sector that fed us with many information, including approximately 400 different feedbacks that we were able to take further, explore, and embed things that would cater for the best of achieving net zero. With that being said, the pathway actually shows us what are the opportunities that lies within achieving net zero. We were able to determine for the first time an absolute emission reduction target, moving away from measuring against business as usual, developing I would say, a real world solution to net zero by knowing exactly what we are going to do over the last 20 and above years. And with that being said, we were able to quantify what would be the outcomes of such pathway, how many jobs will be created. We announced about approximately retaining and creating approximately 200,000 jobs over the course of achieving this strategy, providing GDP growth of 3%, that is fossil fuel free related GDP growth, and again helping in diversifying our economy. The beauty about this pathway is that it looks also beyond just the I would say the typical environmental aspects. It alleviates it to looking at quality of life and how this would help in enhancing the attractiveness and competitiveness of the UAE as a nation, and it sets up the footprint of how we are going to develop our long-term low-emission development strategy.
Wow, that is very impressive. And thank you so much for mentioning inclusion, which is so key in this whole process. Thank you very much. Now we will move to Engineer Walid. As we all know, DEWA is a pioneer when it comes to technology, when it comes to innovation. What are some of the latest technologies that can help contribute and accelerate all this moving forward, and especially to achieve the Dubai Clean Energy Strategy by 2050?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, let's say, like, how long we've been as a DEWA working toward the climate change, because it's not something that we started just this year or last year. It's been a journey.
Yes.
So we started back around 2011 when we introduced the Dubai Integrated Energy Strategy. And that time, it was the first utility maybe in the whole Middle East that bring the renewable as one of the key pillars within the strategy. So from there, we started the renewable. And over the time, we built the maturity that we can see today. The renewable becomes as a fact in the energy mix, and not only in Dubai, but in the whole region. So the renewable was one of the key players that we see Dubai is successful in integration of the energy, as well as to see the new technologies. Like, speaking today about renewable, we have more than 1,500 already connected to the grid, and we have another 1,500 under execution. Now, speaking about technology, we started with PV as a technology. But over the time, we believe the PV that will give you only in the daytime, so we need to have something even in the nighttime. So we brought the energy storage, which is a different technology, and renewable, which is the CSP and the parabolic.
Right.
And this is very much critical in order to come for implementation. It's not like straightforward as the PV. So building such maturity within the organization and within the country is very much important success factor. So today we have a big project called under Mohammed Barash Solar Park, which is the CSP. We have two types, which is the tower and the parabolic. And those, I mean, we're proud to say, these are the biggest in terms of size as a project, in terms of energy storage, and both of them working as per the timeline, and they'll be completed by the end of this year. And this is one of the things that we test the technology, and we believe such a technology in terms of energy storage, it will be a viable technology in terms of economically, commercially, and technically. So this is one of the things that we believe it is will play a big role in the future, and the energy mix, and especially renewable. But to add to that, the green hydrogen even is one of the strong, and we believe the green hydrogen will play a big role, but it's not today, but in the near future. So in order how to tackle this technology, we work together with the private sector in order to set a pilot plant. And honestly, the time that we commissioned that plant, there are a great interest from the international market toward to see how this technology will play a role in terms of energy mix. And what we see today, there is a big interest, not from the region, but even from international private sector, as well as the government, to come as an alliance, how to push forward and have the green hydrogen as one of the components in the energy. Because speaking like, if we speak today in Dubai and United Arab Emirates, we're looking at 2050 to achieve 100% clean energy. So clean energy, it will be very much critical and challenging with today's technology. So we have to look at the future technology. How to look at this technology? We have to play a role in term to make this technology evolving in terms of development. So we're working with the private sector. We build a stakeholder as a platform where all stakeholders become together in order to see how to develop this technology. So the green hydrogen will play a big role. We have a pilot plant already in operation, and we believe that one will be a successful. Other technology, we have the batteries. So today we have two types of batteries, the lithium ion as well as the sodium, already implemented at Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park. And this is, I mean, as I said in the beginning, I mean, we have to create a knowledge embedded within the organization. So in order to have this knowledge and experience, then we have to have the technology in our hand. So having these two types of technology is one of the critical success factor for our knowledge in terms of how to expand and scale up the batteries in the future and integrate it within the renewable. The third technology is that provide the green technology, which provide the energy storage, which is we have Hatta location. It's a mountain area, and we built there a hydro plant. So nobody can believe like in UAE or in that region that we have a hydro technology, but we believe the capability and the technology is there. So we built the first plant. It's under construction. And the concept of that plant is we utilize the access of the renewable, the abundance of renewable from the PV, and pump the water to the top. And in the night time, we release the water, so the turbine will run because of the speed of the water, which is create a performance and momentum. And this will be a 250 megawatt. It is under construction. So putting all these together, we believe the 100% by 2050 is doable, but definitely always looking at the partners and stakeholders to be always on board, and looking at the youth today, because we're not setting strategy for today, we set strategy for future. So having the youth engage and put their hand in terms of support and take forward that the business, this is the most important thing. So the building capacity, engaging the youth is one of the key factors even for us in our business.
Well, thank you so much for giving so many concrete and very technical examples. And linking to your vast engagement with the private sector, with youth, we also know you represent the UAE local network of the United Nations Global Compact.
Exactly, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about this network, about the mandate of this network?
Well, the United Arab Emirates Global Compact Network, it works under the United Nations Global Compact Network.
Yes.
And we have, we re-established the network 2 years back. And the concept of that is to engage the private sector. So we know continuing forward, you cannot just work as a government to do everything. So the key today in terms of, let's say, the finance, the technology, the experience, all that fall under the private sector. So having the private sector as a key player in this formation is important. So that's why the United Arab Emirates Global Compact main objective is to engage with the private sector. How we engage with the private sector today, we have more than 200 members on board.
Okay.
Yeah, from different sizes of companies, and our objective to work with them to set strategies and policies to help these companies how to set strategy related to SDGs,
Yes.
strategies related to net zeros, and how to set. Recently, we announced a program for accelerators. We will work together with the SMEs to build strategies in order to, to come up with new technologies that will help the future. So the objective really is to have the private sectors to be on board in the agenda of the business in United Arab Emirates. But we believe this is not enough for us, because what we look even, we have worked together with our peers in different countries, even to build UN Global Compact in their countries. So today we're speaking, we have programs that we work together with the private sector. And what we see, most of these in terms of ESG or SDGs, being already aligned and synchronized with the business. So we believe the private sector will play a big role in the future.
Yes.
And this is proven today. When we walk around, we don't see only the government. We see the companies even as well engage.
Thank you very much for your leadership in all this. And Your Excellency, Isa, linking to Engineer Walid's comments, on the other hand, how can governments cooperate with the private sector to promote the public interest, the public good in such a changing climate that we live in?
When we look at the engagement between the private sector, the government, as well as the academia, we believe that the private sector has the lion's share out of the implementation side of policies and regulations that is set forward by the government. With that being said, we believe that the private sector is a key enabler for this transformation. They'll bring many elements to the table. They can bring talent, they can bring innovation, technology, as well as finance. And all those are integral enablers for an ecosystem, for a sustainable ecosystem to transform the economy to net zero. In the UAE, we have many alliances that were formed. The latest one being just yesterday, where we announced the UAE Alliance for Climate Action. It's a network that operates within it's the 10th network that operates within a global landscape, and it aims at bringing the private sector together in order to align with them and utilize expertise within the different members to build capacity, to build the expertise in this area, and align on implementations, and basically share knowledge and lessons learned from all those aspects. Another great example is the Global Alliance on Green Economy that was launched by World Green Economy Organization. The UAE took part of this. Under the 3 pillars of this specific program, there is a pillar for partnership, and it looks at how to leverage the power of the private sector in order to enable not only the UAE, but also developing nations to transform their economy to a green economy and a low carbon intensive economy. There will be many aspects that will be brought forward under this alliance. Access to finance is a very big theme in here. We keep on hearing this around the conference, and we believe that there is no single government that could finance the global transition to net zero. It will cost trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars, and the private sector role will be integral. Nevertheless, it needs the robust support from the government in having an active and in being an active listener to the private sector, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are implementing on ground. So we need to be careful listeners. We need to better understand their needs, and we need very agile regulations that would enable us to cope with many variables that are technological variables and innovations that are happening across the sector. Another critical thing is also to link with academia, because academia will play an integral part of this change. They would be, I would say, the catalyst and they will always bring us new ideas and new innovations. And I see also our colleagues here from Zayed University. So we want to integrate everybody with us in this process, and we actually bid on their capabilities in bringing us real world solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's very encouraging for everyone to hear how closely all parties work together in the UAE on climate action. And as we know, the UAE will be the host of the next COP, COP28, which I think we are all very excited about. So my next question will be addressed to Your Excellency Al Suwaidi. How will COP28 accelerate the drive towards net zero and climate action in general?
I think it's a very important question that we hope that we, with your help and the help of the people in this room, that we can deliver next year. In the UAE, we don't do things the normal way. We want things to be game changers, and we believe that our COP28 will be a game changer. You know, if Paris really set a vision to achieve 1.5 degrees, the UAE is the first milestone in assessing how we're doing and what we need to do to go forward. The first element of what we need to achieve with COP28 is around delivering the global stocktake.
Yes.
Our process has mandated that we have to deliver that within the negotiations, and that has to be not just a report card of what we've done, but it really needs to be a vision of what we need to do to go forward. If we think that we're off track for achieving 1.5, what are the real pragmatic solutions that we can be deploying that get us back on track for 1.5 degrees? Secondly, we need to address the demand for an adaptation goal.
Yes.
This is also a mandated outcome for us at COP28, but moreover for us as the UAE, a country that has only recently gone through our development. Please don't forget that we're only 50 years old. So what that means is that we have a generation of people in our fathers and grandfathers who remember a time when our country was less developed. And so we are very acutely aware of the challenges of developing countries. We face many of them ourselves, and adaptation is going to be a key part of our outcome at COP28, because we really need to work on improving resilience, on helping some of the poorest people in the world to deal with the effects of climate change, which, by the way, they feel today. And this is really important for us globally, but also for us at home in the UAE. We're a country that is vulnerable like many others, and so improving resilience and focus on adaptation is really, really critical as we go forward. It would be impossible for us to have a COP without talking about energy. We have so many experts, as you've heard, in the room on energy, and as I'm sure you've met on our great pavilion. And so as an oil and gas producing country that is dedicated to the energy transition and the future of energy, and been a pioneer with some of the work that's done in Dubai and all over the Emirates, in Abu Dhabi, and with Mastar, we believe that we can really add to the conversation when it comes to the energy transition. Lastly, but most importantly, and it's not for us a secondary issue, is about inclusion. We need to have at COP28 a real conversation about how we bring all these great voices that you hear into the discussions, take on all the great ideas that are coming from non-governmental organizations, civil society, to be included in the process. And that means everybody from the left and the right and in between. And how do we make that meaningful? How do we make the mechanisms for that? We have two great champions who are going to help us with that. One of them who just joined us, our high-level champion, is going to be helping us with her great work, and her great team are already on it. But particularly for us, through the lens of youth, we are going to have a youth champion who will give a voice to young people. And I think for us that will be a real focus area, particularly around young women and girls, which the UAE has done so much work on and been so active. And so I think that that's something that we can really add to the process. So we hope that you will all come and join us in the UAE at Expo City, where the COP will be held. And I'm sure if you join us on this journey, that we'll be able to deliver a very successful COP.
Thank you so much, and we definitely will. It's very encouraging to hear inclusion being mentioned again and again, and it's very exciting and quite progressive, all the developments that are at stake. My question is now for Engineer Walid. It will be interesting to know also how the private sector will contribute to all these efforts just mentioned at the COP28.
Let me give you an example what we done in Dubai. I mean, before 2010, we used to do all the project as a government. We implemented and we put the investment to build this project. But in 2012, in Dubai Electricity and Water Authority decided to take the model of the public-private partnership engagement. So all the new projects since that time, we implement them based on public-private partnership engagement. So what we see, we call it the IWPP. So all these projects, the engagement from private sector was very clear. And from day one, they come with us. They bring the investment, they bring the technology, they do the procurement, and we come with them as a shareholder in the project. So what we notice, the time frame of implementation, the technology transfer, the knowledge transfer, and having the investment in the country. So all these together definitely put for us an assurance that the private sector is playing the right role when you bring them all together with the government sector. So all these projects today, there are like a big saving from the government side in terms of investment, but from the private sector side, there is a benefit as well in terms of return on investment. Not only this, what we see, the quality of the business today, big time change. So what we notice, the model of engaging the public-private partnership is the best model for the coming period. So we cannot do it, what all we're speaking today, we're speaking about billions of projects worth investment. And if we can say the government should do everything, the government should tackle the climate change, and the government should set strategies and policy and have everyone together just to implement, this is difficult. So having the stakeholders together with the government working side by side and hand by hand, this will make it successful. So what we notice, the private sector is an important player, and they have to be in the agenda of the business, and they have the knowledge, they have the finance, and they have the technology and experience. So what we believe, as my friend Mr. Majid said, so even in COP28, we'll see a different COP, where we'll see definitely a surprise that will make an action, believe that the strategy will for implementation together, implementation of the right policies and strategies that will make things happen. And the private sector always will be there, and we believe some different models that can be customized to suit others, but what we really done was a successful model.
Thank you very much for giving us a private sector perspective on COP, on the next COP. We have many more questions. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this session, I'm hearing. So thank you so much for your intervention, for sharing your expertise, your insights, and we look forward to COP28.
Thank you. Thank you. شكرا.